To the Safe Check Food and Everything Else Safety Podcast.
Yeah, that's a pretty good job on that one. Did you get it? Did you get it?
It's you, but
Did you want to?
I don't know.
I always mix it up. We always mix it up.
I'm gonna write it down for you. Yeah, we'll nail something down here in the next.
But we're gonna change it. We're gonna slightly tweak it to include.
By 100th episode, we'll change the name.
Safe Check 1. We're going to include
Safe Check. Yeah.
Is this wait? You got the 1? You always say 1.
Because that's our website. We have safecheck.ca. We have SafeCheck 1. We got foodsafecanada.net. We got Food Safety Now. We got MAPAC. We got a whole bunch of websites. SafeCheck 1 happens to be the one where we launched our new store on, and that's the one that's everything kind of. Yeah.
There you go.
We got a cool guest. Yeah, go ahead, Jay. I'll let you.
Well, we do have a great guest that is in the green room right now, sitting there. I'm excited because we're going to talk a little bit about tech and food safety, which is I don't really sometimes think about them too, but I think they're quite important together.
Yeah, it's super important. And these guys, they represent a lot of cool stuff in Canada that can help a lot of kitchens. So I'm excited. They've got some of the best. They got one of the best booths at the RC show too. They've got so much.
Every show I've seen them at, they have like these amazing booths.
Yeah, they got so much cool stuff. So
they've got incredible people as well in their team. I know some of them, and been a big fan. So I'm excited. So we're going to go into intro, and then we'll be right back with our guest. Here we go. Then he's turned around.
It's going to be
I'm just getting the background set up, guys.
It's like a
hold on.
Yeah, are you going to have like an intro? Like,
yeah, no, I'm good.
No,
1,400 podcasts later, I've never had that happen before.
But that's pretty dramatic. I think
I wanted to just show you guys my best side.
He's a showman. Mark McEwen, Foodservice Solutions. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, gents. This is fun.
Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Like we were speaking with Jay, Mark, Foodservice Solutions. We've known each other for a few years. You always got cool stuff. I was hoping to talk today about some of the. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do. But then we'll get into talking about how there's lots of innovation and lots of time and probably money savings with some of the tech that's out there now. So tell us about what you do. History first, maybe. Why
history? How far back do you want me to go?
Not too much, but after high school.
It's a deep, rich history.
After high school.
Yeah, sure. A little bit about myself. I've been a chef in the restaurant industry for 25 years.
Wow.
Was in Calgary for the beginning of my career, then moved out to Vancouver. So I was a chef on the West Coast for about 10 years, then kind of ping-ponged back and forth from Calgary to Vancouver. And now I'm with a company called Foodservice Solutions. So who is Foodservice Solutions? We're a company of chefs at the core. We're an importer and distributor of commercial food equipment. And our goal is to create smarter kitchens. We've curated our product line to really kind of show the interdependence between certain pieces of equipment. And if we pull from Europe and the United States, and so we try and get ahead of the curve when it comes to cooking technology. Europe is so much further ahead when it comes to cooking equipment. And so we kind of cherry pick the best pieces and then bring them to the Canadian market and showcase it across the country. And so, with our products, the idea is we're not just the Me Too guys like, hey, I've got an oven, or I've got a microwave, or I've got a food processor. We want to have clear and competitive advantages that really set us apart. And a lot of it has to do with the technology and how technology's kind of, come into every portion of our life, whether it's
Mhm.
driving a car, or, how you shop for your groceries, or how you cook your food. And so, the commercial food equipment space is the same, right? So we're looking for those smarter pieces of equipment.
Cool. Like me and Jay were talking, some of the coolest things at going to a food service show like the Restaurants Canada show is stopping in at the Food Service Solutions booth, and others as well. But I like stopping at yours because of the tech and how it ties back to safety, particularly. But plus you get to try some really good food usually. So that's but the tech side is is important. Um, Tell us, what's the coolest thing that's happened in the last 5 years on the, we've had combi ovens, but in the last maybe 5 and 10 years, those have really stepped up their game in the tech that's in them and their capabilities. For us, we're always like the fact that they can log temperatures and do a whole bunch of things. But I don't think a lot of people, unless they've been and went and looked at some of this stuff, you would never know like their capabilities because they're massive now.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. The improvements have been monumental, especially when it comes to our oven, the Linux Naboo.
Hmm.
Um, we don't even really call it a combi oven anymore. We call it a device for
Yeah.
cooking,
Okay.
because the way that you look at a combi oven is, it's got steam, it's got dry heat, and it can do a combination of the two. What really kind of separates us apart from any of our competitors is how you interact with the machine. So most of the people who buy combi ovens, most of them use it in manual mode. So they're basically just using it as a glorified steamer or a glorified convection oven, and that's
What
how.
is it?
Sorry.
Because they don't understand the tech? Why are they only using it like that? Why are they not to its full potential?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think part of it is just how user friendly they are.
Okay.
A lot of people are, like I said, they know how steam works, they know how convection works. They don't understand exactly how to create multiple phase recipes, how to log temperature data, how to do all these types of things, and it's a bit convoluted. So the engagement rate for people using these pieces of equipment is probably about 10%.
Oh
That
wow.
means
Wow.
like 90% of the people are using it as a glorified steamer and a glorified convection oven. I liken it. I'm from Alberta, like you guys are, but I liken it to the guys that just buy these big pickup trucks and just take it to the grocery store,
Yeah.
and not really using it for what it's supposed to be used for. So the cool thing about the Linux Naboo, it's the same interface as your phone,
Yeah.
right? So it interacts the same way. A tablet, especially with a lot of, I tell people, if you walk up to multiple combi ovens, and the Linux Naboo is one of them, and you just say, hey, start cooking something, it's going to take a little while for people to kind of figure it out. But when they go up to the Naboo, they're already familiar with the interface.
Hmm.
So it's very easy to navigate.
Mm.
We're also the only cloud-based system in the market, so which is really important, which I'll get into a little bit more. But part of it has to do with how to, you know, create recipes, and that's what I'm saying. Like the engagement rate is pretty low with a lot of our competitors because they don't really have the same type of interface. We have like an inexhaustible amount of recipes that you can pull down from the cloud, from almost like multiple countries across the world, everywhere from France to China to Russia to the US to Canada, Italy, of course. And what's great is that you can use these as a stepping stone, so it takes a lot of the legwork out of cooking, and creating those recipes. So instead of just using it in manual mode, it's like, hey, I want a recipe for steaming broccoli. Oh, just type in broccoli. Oh, here's a couple different recipes for broccoli here. Hey, I want to roast chicken. There's, well, what country would you like it from? Would you like it from Malaysia? Would you like it from, the US, etc.? And then what's great about that is all of the data that's created during the cooking process is stored within the cloud. So all of your HACCP data, that's, that hazard analysis critical control points, where you can actually monitor all the different parameters of your cooking process. And any of our recipes are easily manipulated. They're called ICS recipes, or interactive cooking systems. So you can actually take a recipe and say you might like your roast a little bit more rare than I might like it, or maybe you like a little bit more browning, or depending on what you want to do. All the recipes are easily manipulated, and you can make these kind of micro adjustments without affecting the entire recipe. So what that does is it gives you a lot of freedom to kind of customize things, not have a homogenized way of cooking where a lot of our competitors, it's like, here's your, overnight roast for, a roast. And you're kind of like, well, what kind of roast is it?
Right.
Is it a prime rib? Is it a strip loin? Is it a leg of lamb? Is it a pork loin? Is it a pork shoulder? So like I said, you can take all these recipes down and really kind of customize it to what you really want to do. And then it takes away a lot of the heavy lifting. But, I think the thing that I really like about it, like I mentioned, is the HACCP control. So the ability to monitor all of your HACCP data is really important, especially when you're getting into these overnight roasts. The other really great addition to the Linux Naboo device is, I call it its little brother and little sister, called the Neo. And the Neo is pretty unique. It's a blast chiller and a shock freezer, which is super, super important in the kitchen, especially when you're cooling down sauces, especially when you're trying to freeze product or what have you, and you're doing it in a really effective way.
At one point, improper cool, and probably still up there. It's probably number 2 now, but improper cooling, number 1 cause of foodborne illness in lots of places. Still, like as much as it might be, more than improper cooking, which is
really,
oh yeah, for sure.
But absolutely, if it spends too much time in the danger zone,
yeah.
right, and then you're really just kind of creating like a petri dish full of little critters that can make everybody sick. But the great thing about it is, again, it's all HACCP controlled.
So, does it connect to your combi oven, your Naboo, or your oven?
It's cloud based as well. So it'll actually store all that data in the cloud for up to 1 year.
Cool.
But it's not just a blast chiller and a shock freezer. It's a HACCP controlled thawing environment. Oh. So a lot of people will be thawing things like turkeys for Thanksgiving or Christmas or holidays. Some of them will be doing in the refrigerator, which takes a really long time. Some of them will do it in a sink. Some of them will do it on the counter or what have you. Right? Again, it's not a controlled environment.
Not our customers.
Yeah, exactly. Not after they talk to you, Dominic. But yeah, the big thing is that this is a fully, closed environment that regulates the temperature and really kind of keeps you in that safe zone. Mm-hmm. It's also a proofer retarder. It's also a HACCP controlled thawing environment, like I mentioned. And it's a hot holding cabinet. It's a slow cooker, and it's a sous vide machine all in one. Wow. So yeah, it's crazy. So you can go straight from, doing a braised dish, like say like a beef bourguignon or beef stew, and then go straight into a blast chill or a blast freeze without even opening up the door. Yeah. And again, have all the data there to support it. So, if a health inspector comes in and what have you, you can actually, give them all the data right off your smartphone and just say, here, I can either email it to you or I can send it to my printer right away and print it off for you.
Yeah, which is awesome. I guess the question now is, are people, is that equipment going into new environments? Are people retrofitting their kitchens? Is there a cost barrier? Is there savings? I remember a long time ago, one of your competitors, the savings was in that you weren't going to overcook your meat, and your yields are going to be better and all those sorts of things. But people, there's lots of pressure. So can I save labor by putting some of this equipment in place? And from a safety perspective, we know the power it has. I do anyway, but lots of people do. But I think a lot of people don't know that the tech has come this far. I'm not sure why Am I wrong?
No, no, you're not wrong. I think the way that I'd like to look at it is that when I first started cooking, the kitchens that I kind of came up in are pretty antiquated, right?
Hmm.
Especially considered today. Like I
Yeah.
remember when I was a chef at a restaurant and someone like me stopped by and says, "Hey, have you heard about combi ovens?" And I was like, "I have a steamer and I have a convection oven. I'm good." Because that's the way that we always kind of knew how to cook.
Yeah.
Um, so, the mark of any good restaurant is consistency.
Mm.
And how do you create the same product day in and day out? It's going to be the same today as it's going to be tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, even. How do you create that consistency? And a lot of it, we just relied on the cooks and the training, but now we can rely on the equipment. So the first part of your question is that I can create more consistency with
It's
the
super
product.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. The second part is I can achieve multiple cooking modalities within a small footprint. So that Nabu Neo combo that I just told you about, like that's a stackable system.
Wow.
Within that small footprint, we call it the world's smallest kitchen because you can achieve so much within that footprint. The really interesting thing about it too is that you can grill in it, you
Really?
can sear it, you can bake in it, you can saute in it, you can sear in it, you can create multiple phase recipes
No way.
where you can make like say a chicken curry.
I've
And
worked with the Naboo J. It's awesome. It's an awesome system. It really is. I'm sure it's
yeah,
even better from the one. Yeah, I think we had Model 2 here when we were testing with Richard,
yeah,
um, but I don't know
Wow.
what iteration they're on now. But yeah, the systems are incredible, and it the cost though. What's like? Is it cost prohibitive, or is that even come down from where they used to be? Because they used to be really expensive systems. I think you get a
yeah.
lot for your money now, though.
Yeah, I think
Value
you
is
have
good,
to
right?
take a look at the cost of ownership
Yeah.
and how you look at your piece of equipment. And I don't call it a cost; I call it an investment
Yeah.
because it is an investment in the safety of your staff. It's an investment in the safety of your customers.
Well,
It's an
one
investment in
foodborne entity,
consistency.
if
Yeah,
that saved you, if that just that record, never mind all the stuff that comes with it, but just the record of what you did was presented in a lawsuit, and it
What?
saved it. Well, it could save you a half a million or a couple $1 million because
Really?
you
yeah,
have that record. And here's the cool thing: and if you can show that consistently over time, because you can, um, that's going to save your bacon, man. It's going to save your ass. Sorry, Mark, but
yeah.
that's the
No,
reality. You can say what you do, but what we say in auditing is say what you do and prove it. And the proof is the important part because, hey, oh
Wow.
yeah, of course you say that, right? Well, here's the proof. Here's the proof from yesterday. Here's the proof from the day before. Here's the proof from June 17th, 2023. Oh, you want the proof from June
yeah.
2022? We got that downloaded. You want it from 2020? I have that too. Right. So the
Totally. It can really, legitimize your position for sure. And
100%.
you mentioned the Restaurants Canada show, which we love doing. The great thing about it is, people can really kind of come and kick the tires and see the equipment in action. We have 5 live cooking stations. We're cooking all day. We have a little, house party at the end of each day at the
Mhm.
Restaurants Canada show, which I'm sure you've attended. But we do these demos every half an hour, and the chefs come up, they cook, they talk a little bit about the equipment. And one of the days we did it, we have about 10 seats that we seat at the Linox booth, and they were all health inspectors,
Yeah.
and they were sitting at the booth. They didn't tell
What?
us this, but they're all health inspectors. And by the end of it, they were just like, "How do I get this into like every kitchen?"
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
this would just save so much. They're like, "You have no idea the things that I walk into," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know." But yeah, like the data is such a big part of it. Like you mentioned it, and it really kind of legitimizes your position when a health inspector comes in, and you're just like, yeah, I can get whatever you want for up to a year, or previous years if need be. So
So
that really kind of puts you in a better light than a lot of our other people who aren't using it. And getting back to the savings, it's just it's funny because I look at a lot of our equipment, and there's obviously going to be labor savings. There's obviously going to be consistency. There's going to be energy savings. Like a lot of people, when you look at a traditional cooking line, the big thing is that there's a lot of pieces of equipment,
Yeah.
and the first thing a chef does when he comes into the kitchen in the morning is
turns
he
everything
turns
on.
on everything, right? Turns on the ovens, turns on the deep fryer, turns on everything. And when do they turn it off?
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day. So you're actually consuming energy for the entire day without even being in an active cooking process.
Yeah.
So if I can cut out a couple pieces of equipment on your kitchen line and replace it with one or two pieces that are energy starred. So the part of it too is a lot of people don't know that there's actually rebates you can get from the government by installing this equipment into your kitchens and seeing, the energy savings, because they just think that, it's just a cost of doing business, just flipping on the lights and flipping on all the equipment. And they don't even think that there's a possibility that, hey, I can actually save money on that. So being able to achieve that is great. But yeah, like that's just two pieces. We have, a wide variety of different products that we
Well, we were
represent.
talking previously on the I don't know, I can't remember what the brand was from and we've got an audit side to our business. This is an inspection point in our audits in restaurants, is to inspect the coils underneath their make or prep tables to see if there's dust buildup. Tell us a little bit about this isn't necessarily a food safety. Well, it could be a food safety thing because you're preventing breakdown, I guess. Tell us about that. I can't remember the brand, but there is that Turbo something?
Yeah, it's called Turboware. They're an amazing company. So because we're a company of chefs, it's like every product, like I said, that we bring on to our roster has to be vetted by chefs. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've got 12 chefs across the country in Canada. Our company just recently expanded into the US, so we're
Oh, cool. Good for you guys.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're doing big. It's 11 times bigger than Canada, that's for sure. But the cool thing about Turboware that we really liked about it, and it really kind of separated us from our competitors, is the self-cleaning condenser. So,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned from a safety perspective, going in and checking the condensing coils. Now, for those of you who don't know out there in podcast land or whatever, the way that refrigeration works is there's an intake, and the air intake goes across these condensers. And what that does is it kind of aids in the refrigeration. But what happens is that these condensing coils get clogged, right?
With dust,
Dust, food
paper,
particles,
yeah,
flour,
yeah,
anything. If you're in a bakery, that's the craziest, a pizza shop, or just anything. And so what happens is you'll start seeing fluctuations in the temperature of your coolers,
yeah.
right? And so what happens is that you'll start seeing those fluctuations, and then you will actually be like, hey, what's going on with my refrigerators? So you'll call in a service tech. For those guys, just to get out of their truck, it's $100. They come in, they open up that front panel, they look at your condensing coils, and there's a fur coat on it.
Yeah.
Right. So they take a vacuum or a brush, they clean it all up, and by magic, the
Everything starts
machines
working.
everything starts working. Temperatures start to regulate. There's no like freeze thaws going on. You don't have like frozen lettuce or spring mix and strawberries or things that aid in, again, foodborne illness. So there's that part of it. There's the food safety part of it, but there's also the maintenance part of it. So what's great and really kind of differentiates us with Turbo Air is self-cleaning condensing coils. So we actually have a
Wow.
rotating brush that goes up and down the condensing coils 3 to 4 times a day.
Cool.
What?
Yeah.
So you will
Awesome.
never have to clean a condenser.
Did I
Um,
send you the video, Jay? It's pretty
No.
cool. It's
Yeah.
so basic. I'm surprised it took this many years for somebody to think of it, but it's cool that they've done it.
yeah, it's
like
it's it's super cool.
gonna
Like
say
there's
the refrigeration guys are probably not going to like it because they're going
Yeah.
to be replacing, they're going to be replacing a lot less compressors. 'Cause-
well, yeah, and you can look at it from a really interesting, like, again, you know, it's basically built-in preventative maintenance,
yeah, exactly.
right? So if you look at it, you're actually um, doing the preventative maintenance that you're supposed to be doing. Like I was a professional chef for, like I said, over 25 years, and I can't tell you, I can maybe count on one hand the times that I've cleaned those condensing coils.
Yeah.
Like it's out of sight, out of mind. You don't
Yeah.
even think about it. Um,
Till it
and so
breaks,
it's
right?
crazy. Yeah, until it breaks because you're busy running a kitchen, right? You're busy putting out great food for your customers. And then this
Yeah.
cooler starts giving you a headache. But what's interesting too is, again, we talk a little bit about energy savings. You could save anywhere from $200 to $800 a door, depending on where you're at in the country, right? That's just an energy savings. That's not counting, you
Wow.
know, that prevent that labor of even just getting down there, unscrewing everything. It's probably going to take you half an hour to do it. And if you've got a bank of these pieces of equipment, how long is that going to take you? So there's not just that. There's, you can also look at it from a mechanical situation. Anytime that those condensing coils get clogged, what happens is that your compressor is working harder and harder to pull air through that blanket of dust and particles.
Yeah.
So it's actually overheating it. It's wear and tear on the machine. So, the beauty of Turbo Air is like, it's kind of one of those pieces that you just put into place and you set it and forget it, right? Like it's put it
Wow.
in, it takes care of itself. Yeah. And it comes standard on all the lines. Like
Oh wow.
it's not like an add-on or something like that. Like you
It's
can
standard.
there's other companies that actually have a system, but it's a reverse blower, right? So it'll blow the particles out. But what people don't really understand and why it can kind of come off as a blanket is that it's electrostatically charged.
Yeah.
So it actually almost
Straight.
magnets on there,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So it blows out, it'll just come back in. So yeah, and it's really cool. And then and that's just one of like the standard features that they have that come with machine. Like their back bars for their for behind the bar, it's all stainless steel interior instead of galvanized steel. So you can actually put lemons and limes and olives in there, and they're not going to rust
Yeah.
with the galvanized steel. It's all LED lighting. It's just the shelf clips are like a turnkey situation as opposed to like a pinch clip.
They're
Like it
they're
over
Korean. I think
engineered.
they have manufacturing in the US as well now, right?
Yeah, U.S., Korea, and Vietnam. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great company.
And
We've
it's
been,
they're innovative, right? Back to what you said Foodservice Solutions does is their innovations are really cool.
yeah,
Let's finally talk a little bit before we go on sous vide. This is one again that a lot of people don't understand. If when they do understand, like the chefs that understand it and employ it, you get fantastic food that's
Mhm.
be safe. But you can also have unsafe food for when the people don't understand it. So I know you said that some of the Nabus can do that. They can,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
cool.
And
Need a separate
and
machine.
again, we have. I'll talk a little bit about the active vacuum first,
Yeah.
and that'll kind of translate into the cooking itself. So we work with another company out of Italy called Orvid, and they're the ones who really kind of set the bar when it comes to vacuum machine. Um, again, kind of like how the Naboo kind of reinvented kind of combi oven technology, they did the same with vacuum technology. So what's really interesting about them is, when you look at a vacuum machine, you just think it's sucking air out of a bag, right? Like everyone's
Yeah.
got a food saver at home, or I've worked with vacuum machines or cryovac machines in their kitchens, and they're just like, I just need to suck the air out, right? Because what does it do? It actually preserves the food for a lot longer because the food needs oxygen to break down,
Yeah.
right? That's part of it. So if you starve it of oxygen, you increase the shelf life substantially, like up to 15 times in some cases. So what's really cool is that with the Orvid machine, it's not just sucking air out of the bag, it's actually a food processor, right?
Cool.
So I can do things like clean clams and mussels, right? I can actually purge it of like sand. I can purge it of impurities.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Like one of our chefs was on Culinary Team Canada, and him and I were experimenting with it, and he was just like, "This is like, you have no idea how much." Like what a big deal this is for me, like seeing this in action, and then seeing all the sand from the clams, like sitting, you know, uh, the hotel pan at the bottom of it. But it can also do marinations. It can do infusions. It can vacuum sauces. So if you ever ask a chef, hey, have you ever tried to vacuum pack a sauce or aioli? And they say,
Probably yes. They wrecked the
they're
machine.
like, yes. And the next part of the question is, how'd that go for you? And they're like, well, you should ask me how long it takes me to clean it up after
Exactly.
I try and vacuum pack something. And so they actually have, built-in chef programs where you can take 99.9% of the air out of a bag for a sauce or a pastry cream or anything like that. And again,
Cool.
do it. And you can actually vacuum pack multiple bags on one sealing bar,
Cool.
which, again, just increases your capacity. And the other thing that I'll talk to you a little bit about sous videing is what a lot of people don't understand is that you need actual sous vide bags. You need bags that you can cook in. And there's a big
You
difference
can't
between
just use any bag. You can't just use any bag.
No, you can't, because what happens is if you just use a storage bag, a Ziploc bag, or any of those types of bags, what happens is you can actually leach polycarbonate plastics into your food.
Yeah. Yeah. They got to be
Right?
specifically designed
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
immersion into the water bath, right?
Oh, it kind of makes sense. It's
Yeah.
a hot tub.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really interesting too, if you take a look at Orvid, is that they produce all of their own bags.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Right? They produce the bags for storage. They produce bags for freezing. They produce bags for cooking.
Wow.
They produce bags that are disposable, that are recyclable,
Oh,
and compostable.
compostable.
So you
They
can
got
actually
vacuum
take
bags
this
that are
bag,
compostable.
sous vide bags that are compostable.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, so you can actually take this bag, crumple it up, and throw it in your compost at the end of the day.
No
So I
way.
know single-use plastics have been kind of an issue over the last little while, especially in
Only
Canada.
in
Like,
Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Not in Florida.
yeah, not in Florida.
We won't go
But
there.
We won't
Yeah.
go there.
yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, so what's cool about that is you can actually minimize your environmental footprint or whatever you want to
Well,
look at if that's important to you.
I think I think it is. I think every time I think
Yeah,
of sous vide, I think of how much plastic is wasted in the
sure.
process of cooking something that did it need to be in that cooking method. And I
Yeah,
know it tastes phenomenal, but is it worth the bag?
Yeah. Yeah, it is, Jay.
It is.
Yeah.
yeah. If you've
It's
ever had
okay.
I don't know if you're
Apparently
You
it
I don't know
said
if
is.
you're a steak
yes.
man.
When you try a steak that's done that way, or chicken breast, I've had fish done that way. The guys that know how, the people that, I shouldn't say the guys, but the people that know how to use that equipment and do it right, you would never want it a different way. You just wouldn't, because it's perfect.
Yeah.
if it's done right, and it's
Yeah.
which is the cool part. And then it can be safe, which is, from our perspective, that's the even cooler part. Okay, well, really, can I cook it in this warm water? Blah blah blah. Yeah, you know what? And it can be safe. Back to the public health inspector. We're not public health inspectors, but we work with them. A lot of them don't understand it, right? So
Really?
in our upcoming course, we're putting together here's how it works, here's why it's safe. But here's the important part: you need the right equipment, you need a good thermometer, you need the right bags that are meant for it, right? When people start taking shortcuts, and even on the bigger equipment, if they're not in tune with the equipment and using the equipment as it's intended or supposed to be, they could make mistakes. So, but the cool thing is you would have a record of it if something went wrong. But before that happens, we insist that people still manually check, right? Even though the equipment's doing it for you, you manually check, because really you're checking yourself too, right? So the awesome thing about tech, can I justify it from if I was remodeling my kitchen? Why would I put a combi oven and a blast chiller in?
Yeah. Couple reasons. I think, right now we really have to take a look at the quality of cooks that are coming into the industry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think post-pandemic, it's been, they call it the Great Resignation for a reason. A lot of people have been leaving the hospitality industry, especially a lot of the high-end people, because their skill sets are transferable into other areas. So the type of cooks that you're getting, you need technology to maintain that consistency. And if you even just take a look at the cost of food now, you can't afford to waste a single ounce. We talked a little bit earlier about even just overnight roasting.
Yeah.
If you look at a traditional convection oven, if you're cooking a roast in it, your loss is probably around 30%, give
Wow.
or take, right? That's from raw to cooked. If you use an overnight cooking method, and this is consistent with a lot of combi ovens across the board, is that you will actually save anywhere. Your loss will be reduced down to like 7, 10, 12%, depending on the type of product that you're cooking. So you have a savings of up to 20% just on a protein. Now you think about the consistency in cooking, and we have accessories for grilling vegetables. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever grilled vegetables before, but you usually have some casualties with some peppers or some
Never.
zucchinis that you're
Never.
never. Yeah,
Come on, Mark.
you're
No.
one of the few, Jay. You're one of the few.
Come on, man.
But yeah, so like, I think again, that's one of those situations where you look at that footprint where you can achieve so much within this small footprint and really kind of minimize your labor costs, energy costs, food costs, and even just the stress, right?
Yeah.
And then you're taking the higher end products, like even like we talked about roast, but even just proteins. A lot of the times those are cooked by the most experienced people in the kitchen because they're very expensive.
Yeah.
Now I can have a guy with minimal training cook at a high level without having to worry about the price tag associated with that. So yeah,
Well, it also frees up that
very
person to do other things, I think, right? Is where
100%. Yeah.
if we're using that equipment properly, it's going to be safe. Where it also gives us some time savings in being able to do other things. And I think it gives for restaurants with a small leases are more and more expensive. Like having a facility is just more expensive. So you need to cut down on your footprint, and spending that little bit of extra and having a good piece of equipment, will pay for itself probably in the first year. Just in.
Well, I think also, Dominic, we need to get rid of that stigmatization around restaurants fail after 2-3 years as well, because failing costs so much money, especially in the equipment space, right? So there's just the more and more that we're ready and set at the beginning or bringing in equipment and stuff like this, we need to eliminate as many possibilities of a closure in 3 years as we can.
Yeah.
And it's
And that
typically in
goes
the,
back
I
to,
always said it's like, it's usually operational rant is what I've found. Like people are not like, they're like you said, they're cheaping on equipment, or they're not doing their menus, or they're doing like they're trying to cut corners. Typically, it ends not in the right way.
no, if you have to employ a bunch of different things to get consistency, right? Like
Yeah,
me, tech and equipment would be a big one because that takes away some of the variables that Mark was just speaking about.
yeah,
And if restaurants are smart about it, when they, I think it would be go out and do research and don't be stuck in what you already know, right? Go and research all the different
yeah,
possibilities because it's changed so much. I would
Yeah,
strongly encourage anybody
yeah,
thinking about doing a restaurant to go to a food service show or a restaurant show, or go and speak with people like Mark or people on his team to
mhm,
see, hey, here's what I want to do, right? They're going to come up with this beautiful thing that that you could never afford, right? Because it's got 50,000 different little pieces of equipment that are going to be awesome. But investing in one or two of those important pieces will pay dividends, in my opinion, right? And if when you go to those places that are using that equipment and using it properly, the results are usually fantastic.
so
yeah. And
Mark,
part of what we do too is we've got neutral demo sites across the country. So we've got
mm,
12 neutral demo sites in Canada.
Cool.
So every major metropolitan has a neutral test kitchen where you can come and experience the equipment firsthand. You can book it on our website at foodservicesolutions.com, and really kind of see how all of our equipment is kind of interdependent. Like
Our next show is going to be from there, Jay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah, I'd love it. Yeah, I'd
Well,
love to have you guys over
I'd
firsthand.
like to do a sous vide demo just because I think that's one that people, the whole oven part, they have to experience that in person, I think, to understand the true capabilities. Um,
well,
Mark,
sous vide, I'm just blown
yeah,
away because I'm
well,
assuming
it's
it's
incredible.
too dangerous, eh?
It's probably still underused, I would think, in Canada. Mark, is that safe to say?
Yeah, I would say that Europe is so much further ahead. Like you can make some of the best risotto I've ever had. I've had just done sous vide.
Mm.
And
Wow.
my mother's Italian, and I thought it was just standing over a pot and stirring and adding in my stock, and I can do it. Take it all, put it in a bag, put it in a sous vide bath, and just let it go, and it's just as creamy and flavorful and al dente as you would if you were going to do it in another way.
So many cool
Um,
things.
but kind of getting back to the idea of sous vide is that a lot of times people just think of sous vide in a water bath, right? And we do have that option. We have actually a piece of equipment from uh, Orvid called the SV Thermal, where they actually use it in laboratories because it's so specific, and it actually has probes that are about a millimeter wide, that you can put into a sous vide bag, and they've got
Wow.
these different types of nuts that you can screw into the bag where it won't break the vacuum seal, and you can go directly into it with the probe, and monitor multiple pieces at the same time. And then once it's done cooking, it'll actually do a cold flush of refrigerated water into the bath to cool it down.
No,
So
cooking.
that's a sous vide bath scenario. We can also do it with the Linux Naboo and doing it in a steam mode, um, which is great. And then you can go straight from there into the Neo and blast chill or blast freeze, or you can actually do it completely in the Neo and go straight from blast chilling or straight from sous vide into blast chilling or blast freezing, again without even having to open up the door. So all of that HACCP data is recorded again up to a year in the cloud.
Yeah, which is as we shut it down here, what Jay, in another show we talked about restaurants starting to look outside. And you see some restaurants starting to do this where they're offering take home kits and stuff that you can do at home, or frozen stuff, that, investing in a little piece of equipment like that might put you right into that business of all in one. If it's all in one piece of equipment, it's all controlled, it's all going to be consistent. You charge 50 cents more, $1 more for that product, and you're going to pay for that piece of equipment, I would say, pretty quickly, especially because it's going to be good. So, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to talk about. I really appreciate your time. I like what you guys do. If people have a chance to see Foodservice Solutions in the city they're in, at the restaurant show, I know you've done some regional ones as well.
Yep.
And is it foodservicesolutions.com, Mark?
Yeah, and you can go to the website. You can check out any of our products. All of our sales reps for each individual region will be on there. You can contact them directly, set up an appointment, come down to the test kitchen, man. Like, I think that's the best thing to do is let's just hang out. Let's cook together. Let's show you something that you've probably never seen before, and kind of open your eyes to some really cool possibilities, because I think, you don't know what you don't know. And,
so true.
Part of it is showing people some cool and innovative, pieces, and they come out of it with that like aha moment, like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was possible.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's probably my favorite part of the job, is just introducing people to new ideas.
Thanks so much. Jay, you're muted, man.
I was just messing with you. No, I was just joking. I was just like, this is incredible stuff. I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I gotta see a lot of this stuff. I want to go see all the stuff that it does.
Yeah.
Come on down, guys. We'd love to have you. If you want to do a show down there, we can really kind of dive into some of the pieces and kind of show you what's up.
That was very cool.
Yeah. So again, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. I look forward to having you on again. I got some other stuff I want to talk about. Slicers is one of them, because again, that presents another safety, not only a safety challenge, but a food safety challenge, right? So I'm pretty sure
100%.
there's lots to talk about there.
Slicer. We never talked about the slicer at all the shows we've done.
We talked about it in regards to Maple Leaf on a really big scale.
Yeah.
The challenge is the same; they're just smaller scale. So some of the companies, have taken that, and they've made improvements to eliminate some of those hazards. And that's the cool thing about tech and safety, is that your equipment can solve a lot of these issues for you, or at least mitigate them and make them a lot smaller. So that's why what Foodservice Solutions does with the equipment that they bring in, is they're offering some solutions. And not that I'm here selling for Foodservice Solutions, where this is not a paid advertisement. We're not paid to do this. We didn't receive any benefits from it. We might come down and enjoy a piece of meat or steak or something in a test.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I purely wanted to look from the how tech and equipment can help solve some of the safety problems and or labor problems, because that's so. Again, Mark, thanks so much.
Mark, thanks so much.
Yeah, pleasure, gents. You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation, and let's do it again. We've got tons of different things I'd love to, talk to you guys about and kind of show you.
Awesome. Thanks so much,
everybody. Thanks, guys.
So Dominic, we're good. We're good. We're going to wrap up this one.
Yeah, let's wrap. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're a cool company. I like what they do. Mark's I can't speak to his chef ability.
He's in the green room still, so we can say he's a smart guy.
He's a chef. He's really good, but he's a really good. He's not your typical salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
They let the products that they bring kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah.
In most cases, they do. So I think back to what he said is, you don't know what you don't know. Open up your mind, go and look at some of this stuff and see, can this stuff, can this equipment, can this solution, can my, looking at it from a different perspective, can it solve some of my pain points? And usually the answer is yes. And finding a way to employ it in your kitchen, in your reno kitchen, in your new menu, your new kitchen, I
Mhm.
think should be a serious consideration for anybody looking to open a business.
It's pretty cool. It's cool
Yeah.
stuff. It blows my mind. All these things are new. Like you said, I can only imagine how many people just don't know about this stuff.
No, it's
And
crazy. The people they just think there's a fryer and a flat top and and an oven. It's like, no, there's so much more,
so
and
much more to it.
the equipment's doing so many more things, right? And it's doing it. The really cool part, it's doing it better.
Yeah,
Not
that's what's
overcooking.
crazy.
You're not killing stuff and drying the shit out of it, and you
No,
don't have to anymore, right? You don't have to necessarily rely on the cook or the chef to be able to nail it, because the equipment's going to stop. The
no,
equipment's going to do it and then stop. And like you said about the Neo, then start cooling it, or the sous vide one, where it's going to flush it with
easy.
cold water to stop the cooking. It's like, oh, I'm right at the right exact spot. Stop, and stop it does. So cool.
It's amazing stuff. I'm blown away. I just yeah, it's a whole new world for me. All right, well, thanks again, and we'll see you next
Thanks,
episode.
everybody. SafeCheck1.com.
You're such a YouTuber now. Here we go.